The Slim Fast 14-day effect on your New Year's resolution. Day 1, the new year. You want to kick it off with a bang, and you're not just talking about fireworks. Day 14, you're ready to start this year right, looking great and preferably on top.
2 weeks is all it takes to get what you really want. Swap 2 meals a day for Slim Fast protein shakes or bars, get in a 30-minute workout, and stick to a 1,200-calorie diet to lose up to 6 pounds in your first 14 days. Find Slim Fast in a store near you.
You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network. Now, the largest new media platform on the web and your number one source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Dean Johnson.
The AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's The Originals After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's The Originals After Show.
Yo, what up, AfterBuzz? It's your boy DJ Jesse Janedy here in studio for The Originals, Season 1, Episode 11. I'm not even going to announce the title of this. I'm not even going to try and do that, but apparently it means when it rains, it pours.
In French.
There you go. So if you guys want to figure that out, you can TiVo it or look at your damn screen to say whatever it is. I'm joined in studio by my lovely co-host, beautiful and gorgeous as always today, Kristen Snyder.
Thank you. Hello.
Paige Sullivan.
Hi, everyone.
And Roxy Striar.
Hi, guys. Good to be back.
Great episode.
Oh, my gosh.
Whoa.
I would almost actually say probably the best one I've seen personally. We've had great episodes of The Originals, but this one, I mean, it had everything in it. What did you say? It should have been a Halloween episode?
Yeah, because it was so creepy and dark. I felt like it needed a reason to be that creepy and dark. But with this show, every week we say this was our favorite episode.
Right. That's a good point.
It keeps getting better and better every single week.
I was gonna say, you know, when I hear you say the best episode, I'm like, oh, deja vu, but not in a you're lying kind of way. In a how awesome is that we're actually covering a show that we love more and more every week. It's fabulous.
Well, question for you guys: do you think that, like, all right, we've obviously love Vampire Diaries. Do you kind of think that maybe our love for Vampire Diaries is kind of, I don't know, it's a little stale right now? Do you think it's because the storylines, like I feel like with The Originals, there's one key storyline through the whole show,
and we're all
through
on
the whole
it.
episode, and yeah, it's more like teamwork with everybody. Where Vampire Diaries, it's like everyone's kind of doing their own thing. Do you think that kind of takes away from the show? And that's what makes Originals so good, is that we're seeing everybody together on the same
Plot line.
I think we're undeniably comparing the two. And right now, for me, I love Vampire Diaries. You guys know I do. I'm obsessed. But that last episode, though, you mean it was like...
last episode, though?
That episode, though. No, it was really not great.
Nope.
And the show is awesome. But like you're saying, yes, I think that we are all invested in one storyline on Originals, and not only that, but I'm more invested in Originals right now than I am Vampire Diaries, and you can't help but compare the two, especially when they pull stuff from Originals like tonight. When you remember last season of Vampire Diaries, we know about the mom, we know what happened with her, we know where they stood with her. I'm talking about Klaus and Esther, and the rest of the clan. Rebecca, Elijah, exactly. So when you have all this background information, you have to recall to the good old days of VD over here, then you can remember.
And by VD, that's
disease. That's why they do TVD all the time instead. So I just made that mistake. But I'm just saying, like, when you flash back and also comparing it to this show, it is tough.
I also happen to think that these relationships and the passion in these characters, they are all just so diehard at this point. It's so intense, but everything's new to us. It's not like, oh, Damon and Elena, and still Elena's happening.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare hate on Damon.
I'm saying all of them. Even Caroline and Tyler, all of them in Vampire Diaries. It's been 5 seasons. Not that it's old, but it is kind of old news, like these relationships. Yes, it's been going on and on. So when something new happens, I really need it to blow me out of the water. It can't just be the breakup they left us with. I kind of looked at that like, whatever, like,
Been there,
same old
that.
story.
I feel like Vampire Diaries, their storylines are definitely suffering because some of their greatest characters that we were introduced to, those storylines had to end because those characters were then, in the originals. It sort of took away from the direction they were going. And I was so excited about Vampire Diaries because the originals was on it, and they were sort of mixing up the plot lines with, Rebecca and Matt and Caroline and Klaus. And it's like, I feel like them leaving kind of definitely took away from what Vampires like storyline and vision was.
I don't know, because I like the first few seasons, but we'll get to that. And if you guys want, you guys can tune into us Thursday right after Vampire Diaries airs. You guys can tune into AfterBuzz TV, and we'll be talking about Vampire Diaries, and that's going to be their 100th episode. So
right, that we're excited.
Holding out that it's going to be a good one.
Well, needless to say that, people were hesitant about switching over to the originals because everybody loves Vampire Diaries so much. Needless to say, the originals is kicking butt.
Right. Mm-hmm. Let's talk. Let's get into it. They start with the story about witches, and we get Elijah, Klaus, and Hayley, and sitting in a room. They're talking about Davina. Davina's upstairs. Marcel goes up to see Davina, and Davina freaks out. She's like using her magic all over the place, and Marcel's trying to convince that he has this love for her and he's loyal, yada yada. Davina doesn't really know who to trust. And so we're inside this house. Mm-hmm. And the two stories that we get here, we get this one between Elijah and Hayley. And in this, Hayley kind of tells Elijah, hey, something I gotta tell you. Since you're going to see Sophie now, and Davina's throwing up dirt, probably should tell you that I worked with Sophie in this master plan to get Celeste's remains because she threatened my family.
Right. Hayley's not used to having the insider information. No. So this is kind of a little like, I know something you don't know, and I really don't know what to do with it. She never, in all fairness to her, she didn't try to hide it from him.
She did a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm saying after she realized it was an issue, she didn't try to hide. It wasn't like, ooh, I want to cover my tracks. I'm not going to let him know I did this. Because she easily could have done that. Right. She easily could have played dumb and said I had no idea what was going on, Mm-hmm. And I don't think Sophie was really going to ever rat her out. But she didn't try to do that because I think she really cares about him and because she is a good person. Okay. I'm going to stop talking so that I can let Paige disagree for a second.
I just real quickly, I think, if she had this trust and really cared about Elijah, she would have asked him first. She never would have gone in those diaries because...
If she had trust.
If she had
Not
trust.
that she didn't care for Elijah.
Yeah, but
I think it's the trust.
Like he says, we see at the end of the episode, he's like, you were in my head. You saw how I felt about Celeste. You saw that pain. And then you so soon after seeing that, went into these diaries, and whether it was for the greater good or not, I think she should have gone to him first.
Right. What I really liked about that moment was she claimed, she goes, I didn't know. I thought they were just bones. And we could have left it at that, but he looked at her and said, but you did know, because otherwise you would have just come to me and asked. If you didn't think it was a big deal and you thought they were just bones, you'd have asked me. So I like that we did that because are you kidding me? Elijah's not stupid by any means. He's so smart. Obviously, he knows you knew. So I appreciated that, but I do think Hayley made an honest mistake. I don't think she was trying to be manipulative. I think that she was trying to help out her tribe, her family, the tatted people.
I mean, Elijah and Rebecca and Klaus, they all would do that for their family.
Right.
So if looking at it from that angle, you cannot blame her for what she did.
Right. You can be upset with her, but you cannot hold a long-term grudge. I really believe that.
No, I agree. I don't think that, but I also, at the end of this episode, I don't really see where they're going from here, but this whole episode made me question what we thought was brewing between the two of them, because we see this disloyalty on Hayley's part and his disappointment in her actions, but then very soon after you see his connection with Sabine, and it's kind of, everything just seemed to be thrown up in the air in a big mess.
And also, an interesting moment for me, which I took it with a grain of salt, but when Hayley was kind of packing all the food up to go to the church, the bayou, and Klaus brought her to the church, and that moment of her kind of seeing him and him making the point, our baby, that baby it has my blood in it too, in his clan, and seeing that. I don't know if there was like an underlying moment there that they're going to try to tie back into the brothers over Hayley thing.
Well, I think that mainly the point of that was a lot of this episode, I was going to say majority, but a lot of it is really about being back on Team Klaus. They're saying, listen, audience, we know that we're giving you a million reasons to hate Klaus, but here's why not to hate him.
Yeah.
And so we see him tonight, and he does go to the church with Hayley, and he does bring food. And not only that, he actually already went there and brought food because those are his people. And then at the end with the whole Elijah thing, which we'll talk about later, but the hug and the Marcel thing, and the hug and the saying that he cried because he thought he was dead. The whole thing.
But even the Elijah one, I mean, he told Hayley, just apologize. Don't be me. Don't do what I do. So that was an interesting moment.
That's big of him because this is his brother. He's basically hooking up with his baby mama. I mean, he's being very selfless at that point. Right. He could easily just be like, oh, too bad.
And the reason for doing that, other than the fact that it helped move the storyline forward, is saying, guys, don't give up on him. Don't deem him the enemy of the show because he's not. Listen, look at this, I
mean, was anyone, were any of you guys thinking that?
I think they were worried if you didn't watch Vampire Diaries.
Right.
That you were sitting here being like, what endearing qualities does he have? Why am I trusting it? Why do I put my heart into his heart? And this is why.
That's true.
Because if you think about the show, we really haven't seen much good about him. He's just like, me, power, want, top. Like,
want top.
We want top. Like, that's not how he talks at all.
No.
More like, hey, I'm going to get on the top of the power chain.
We will.
Yes,
leave
that
to
matters.
Joseph to reenact.
Better point. There we go.
No, I feel like he's going through like a self-reflection period, as these things keep happening to him. So it's nice to see that part of him in this show because we didn't get to see that in Vampire Diaries. And I think that's what's changing him along with this child coming.
So, I mean, with all this going on with Hayley, Elijah comes out to say, look, the problem is Celeste didn't want her bones to, be found. And Sophie says that if they have these bones, she can draw the powers out of them and she'll become an elder. And it was like this long process of what Sophie thought was going to work.
Okay. Actually, just because I had to make you guys pause and explain to me multiple times, let's go over that for a second, what that process is, Jesse, because I don't know if you guys are sitting at home being like a little confused about it. I know that we were all, or specifically this one over here, was a little confused. So basically...
The rundown. Let's just start with what's happening to Davina. Davina right now has these, they had the harvest. So there are 3 witches already dead whose throats were slit. They were the sacrifices.
And
who were supposed to come back.
One of them is the cousin of the niece of Sophie.
Right.
Monique.
So their powers have gone into Davina, along with the elders' powers.
Okay.
All of the powers of the earth have gone. Just the 3 girls.
The 3 girls' powers are in Davina. What the whole thing was is they were all going to die, and basically by doing that, they'll absorb the elders' powers from the ground. It's like rejuvenating the powers that they already have because slowly they lose them over time. So they work with their elders in the ground and the people who are alive to kind of combine forces is how I saw it.
Well, that was the story we were told. Now I'm thinking that was never the case, but that was the story we were told.
I think it is the case.
And when we get to predictions, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is the case. I think the harvest is a real thing that can really work if done correctly.
I agree with that, but okay, well, yeah.
I think if Marcel hadn't stepped in there, all the witches would be fine.
Really?
No, that's where I disagree.
Yeah.
Why do you feel
That's
that?
where I disagree.
I think that, especially when we see...
And what moment do you think it was that Marcel shouldn't have stepped in?
Okay, no, like when he saved Davina.
Oh.
The very first time he saved Davina. I think, honestly, I don't even remember seeing, this is jumping ahead a bit, Sabine there at the harvest. But
Sabine was there.
I don't remember seeing her for some reason. She didn't stand out to me because all of the older women were killed there. Everybody who wasn't, one of those 3 girls was actually killed at the harvest. They're all dead except for Agnes.
Agnes wasn't killed. Oh.
And I don't know how many of them actually survived or who was there and who wasn't at the harvest. But I think that, the women who were performing that truly believed in the harvest. And when we see that woman come back, I don't know her name, but she was at the harvest with Davina and she's resurrected right now. She seemed very, very confused. And if she's confused, that means she had no idea this was going on. Right. So I think it's something that happened after
Bastiana.
the harvest.
Well, it would have to have happened
Okay.
before, in the sense of, we find.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we're getting ahead of ourselves. So what this is going to do, Sophie's going to take the powers of Celeste, and it will allow her to be an elder. So that way, when she slices Davina's throat, she's able to call upon the spirits, and the girls she'll be powerful enough to bring the girls back,
Right,
and set everything in motion and balance. All right.
right.
But then,
Right.
So this all goes awry, though, and so I think that's where Roxy got confused, was trying to figure out, when we dug up Celeste, her bones had already been, what was it? Consecrated?
Consecrated.
The juice of the bones, that's the magic.
Gone.
Gone.
So they have to find a new elder, and that is where it got confusing, because...
Well, before that, I just think it's interesting to point out, they didn't really pay much mind to that. Like, oh, why didn't this work? Oh, maybe somebody stole the powers. Moving on. Didn't you guys think that was...
I think that'll be next week.
Okay.
Of them really trying to think out, because that's where Rebecca said, well, where are the powers? Because
Right.
now it's kind of like, okay, well, where'd the powers of Celeste go in their minds? And then where'd the power of our mother go?
Right, okay.
So there's two
you're
elders,
right.
and their powers are just missing.
Right, but you're right in the order. So, right, the powers don't work, and then...
So then
Now
they...
Esther's, they bring up Esther.
Yeah, and so apparently you have to own land, and that's where you bury the person. It has to be like on family ground in New Orleans to make her a New Orleans witch. So they basically put it in Hayley's name because she's carrying the baby. They all participate in burying her, and they're all going to participate in the harvest because it's their mother. And so it's all about bloodlines and the people.
Right.
And so
And being a part of the clan, which
mm-hmm.
is why she had to
So the
be.
baby is part of the bloodline because it's inside of Hayley and
it's
it's Klaus's, which means it's a mother, and it can't just be in Klaus's name because vampires can't own land.
Right.
So that's why it goes in the baby's name, and then the powers are going to go to Sophie. So
Correct.
the house and the plot goes to the baby and Hayley, and the powers go to Sophie.
yes.
Right.
And so what's supposed to happen, it's supposed to be easy as pie from there. You're supposed to just be able to do this harvest. No go. But I did think it was a little interesting when we find out Celeste was consecrated, that she was buried somewhere in New Orleans, and wasn't she from France, or were they in love in New Orleans, or was she just a French girl who lived there? Because it was the French Quarter.
I can't remember where.
It felt like they were in France for some reason, but then I might just be mistaking it for
I almost
old...
want to say it was there, because if him and Klaus were running around living in New Orleans, it probably was.
Yeah.
Also, if it had been in France, I think we would have seen it in TVD.
I don't know. For some reason, I thought because she spoke French and she was French that it was in France, but I keep forgetting that they're in the French Quarter, and back in those days, it was heavily populated by French people.
It was legit.
Legit.
All right, so we have this crazy storyline with this, and Sophie says that the harvest has to happen right now, so she's convincing the vampires to actually go through with this, because Rebecca's like, wait, we're just gonna give this bitch all the powers, and she gonna be like,
Right.
But we find out that technically Davina's like Captain Planet over here, and she's gonna do earth, wind, fire, water,
Earth, wind, water,
fire. All of the elements, because the powers are getting too much for her, and the powers are gonna basically kill her.
Right. Just
Kill
as a
her.
general comment, how cool is that they just
Right.
included the elements? I mean, I thought that was really smart, and I'm loving how witchy this show is, and they're drawing from the earth, and they're bringing natural elements into it. I just think it's very creative and different.
And I love that they're doing it, because I wish they would do it over on Vampire.
And it's a balance, though. They always say, like, if you're a Vampire Diaries fan, Bonnie died bringing Jeremy back. That it's this balance in nature. And Davina, it didn't seem like Davina had any bad luck with this power. It just seemed like, oh, she's just going to be the all-powerful witch. Well, guess what? There is a balance, and you can't just have all this power. That's not the way it was meant to be. So if you have all this power, then your demise is coming.
Well, especially because they said nobody's ever meant to have all of this power. It's not just like she has a lot of power and she's a normal witch. She has a lot of power because of 3 witches all being embodied in this one witch. Or 4, including herself, I suppose. So they were saying this is impossible. This will kill her. Right. But even though I know that they thought that would kill her regardless, I think that everybody really believed that she was going to come back in the harvest.
Oh, yeah.
Klaus, Marcel, I think he even was on board at the end, Rebecca and Elijah
And Davina.
Sophie and Davina. I think that they all really did believe.
Well, Marcel and Davina, I'll say
Towards
this.
the
I
end.
think I don't know if they were fully sold on it. I think it was more along the lines
Right.
of, okay, like Davina said, I'm either going to kill everybody or I might just kill myself and then maybe I'll come back.
Right.
It's kind of the only, really, and I'm glad that she got into her head as a, 14-year-old girl that's able to do that.
She's 16.
However old.
As a teenager who are very selfish.
Right.
You know?
Over Marcel, who's been around for hundreds of years and you think would have common sense to be like,
but Marcel had to do it the way he did. Otherwise, Davina would never. I'm hoping we get Davina back. I believe we probably will at some point. And Davina never would have trusted Marcel again had he gone about it the way that anybody else did.
True that.
And we spent this whole episode kind of being like, so what is their relationship? Is Marcel in love with her or does he love her like a child? And I think we learned that at the end. She's like a little sister. Yeah. She is...
It's his family. I don't think any of us talking about family and having someone.
I don't think any of us thought that he was in love with her, or I didn't think he was in love with her.
There was weird vibes.
There was definitely weird vibes, but it was very clear to me once we reached the end where Klaus is saying, "I know how you feel because of how I felt about you when I thought you were dead." It was very clear to me that it's that savior relationship, the big bro kind of thing, but even not more so than an actual brother, but different. Like, I found you, I picked you, I chose you, and I chose to shelter you. You were not just given to me, you are not my blood. I picked you out, and I want to protect you.
Well, and he kind of sacrificed himself for her as well. So, I mean, all that effort and everything he's done to protect her definitely goes a long way, and I don't feel like he wanted to see that go to waste. But at the same time, after her huge goodbye speech, I kind of knew, I think we all did, that she was at least going to be gone for a few episodes.
Yeah. And I also think, do we feel like maybe Marcel, the reason he has protected Davina and done what he's done for Davina is because of how he was protected and raised by Klaus? Is it kind of, you get what you put into the world, so he was, you're a victim of your past, basically.
Yeah, I think it's a little of that, but I think it's because Klaus left him that he realized I would never want that to happen to the people that I love, and he kind of has absorbed that with
which I think just also, what like we saw at the end, is going to bring him closer to Klaus, because now he knows even more how Klaus felt about him.
There was one part where he looked, when Marcel looked across at Rebecca, it felt like, I don't know if it was just the editing, I felt like he was looking at Rebecca like, you dumb bitch, like, you told me it was going to work, and, now here we are, and then he ran away. And I was almost going to be really happy if Klaus had, like, ran to him and been like, said his little speech, but then threw something in, like, this wasn't her fault. Like, I just want
about
Klaus
Rebecca?
to be team Marcel Rebecca, too, because then I feel like we'll actually get them together.
I honestly, won't say that they won't ever be together again. I just don't see it happening anytime soon. Right. I feel like there's just been too much bad blood.
Well, and Jesse said, it goes into our next topic, Rebecca talking to Sophie about, hey, after the harvest, let's team up and go against Marcel and Klaus. What did you guys think of that?
I loved her line. It was like, sometimes it's more important of who
Be
you're
clever.
against.
Oh,
yeah.
Of who's on the opposite side than who you're siding with.
Yeah.
So I really like that.
I did too. And I think it's just what we saw. It's more of last week. She's finding, not that they're weak links, but they're all people who seem to be on their own in this and fighting for their own reasons. And if all of these singular people who have a bone to pick with Marcel and Klaus get together, they'll be more powerful.
Right.
But I think that their problem is, yes, they have a bone to pick with him, but always something gets in the way. And just like we sometimes love or hate Klaus or Marcel, then there's a reason to come back to them, It's not like Rebecca has been like, I hate them, let's take them down, and it's been unwavering. It's always kind of like, I love them, let's take them down. But wait, let's put it on pause because they're doing this good thing. But wait, let's put it on pause because we got to join together for this.
I think she's being just smart about her plan of attack.
Yeah, I do think she's being probably the smartest player right now, and that's what she says. She says sometimes it's not good to be whatever. It's better to be clever, and she is very clever. And as Klaus said tonight, I think sometimes we underestimate her.
And she looks amazing this episode. And Roxy, you were telling me how she got that beautiful body.
Well, I don't know how she specifically got it, but I know how you could get it. So with Slim Fast, 2 weeks is all it takes to get what you really want. In 14 days, the only thing higher than your confidence could be your hemline. This podcast is brought to you by Slim Fast.
Whoa.
Yeah.
New Year's resolution, get in the gym and drink y'all Slim Fast. Look like Rebecca.
All right. Marcel takes Davina off to this hidden place, and initial thought when he took Davina, What went through your minds?
Exactly what happened. I honestly thought he was going to take her and they were going to find her.
But did you guys feel? But did you guys feel that? Did you believe? Like, there was a part of me that watching this episode that was kind of like, is this like someone working with Sophie, and are they doing all this stuff to make it look like they need to do the harvest? I don't know. I kind of was thinking, is this really happening to Davina?
Well,
why all of a sudden right now is it happening? You know,
I didn't think that at all, but I do now. Now that you say it, now I'm thinking maybe Sabine, aka Celeste, put all of this in motion. She just pretended it was all happening, and then they reacted to what they were seeing.
No, because then why would Sophie had known about the elements and what was going on?
But where did she learn that? Like, she just started saying that. Like,
that is true. When she
like
said
maybe
that,
Sabine told her.
the same way that I am like, how are they so sure about the harvest? Who told them about that? I'm like, how do they know about these
It's like
elements?
history. It's like basically reading like old history books or like somebody's diary from 100 years ago. They said it worked, but
I'm kind of assuming that's how she knew about the elements, like the history books. So I don't think that it was just she took it out of Sabine's mouth. So that's why I do think that might be an act. I really think that's what was happening. I think that she was going to die. I really think that Davina was going to die.
I thought she was, but now I'm just questioning it. As I'm questioning every single thing that happened this episode.
Because I'm like, you know, they made these elements to be that they were going to be so dramatic, and it was almost kind of like, all right, we got some wind blowing, the water.
Oh my God, the whole quarter was shaking.
What they were talking about, floods were going to come, and it was going to be worse than the wind, and it was just rain, and then all of a sudden the rain was done, then the fire came, and the fire seemed legit. I mean, the fire was like following her behind.
That's the point, though. Nothing really matters until the fire, actually, because the fire is what's going to kill the vampires. That's what kills them, you know?
That's what's going to kill the vampires. I'm just talking about in general.
It's going to kill everybody.
Well, it's going to kill everybody. That's what I'm saying. Like, they're not going to drown. They're not going to drown. They're not going to be winded away. They're not going to be earthquaked away. They're going to get burnt. And so that's why you don't want to get to the end of it all. The other ones, they get worse and worse, but the last one is detrimental. So I think that was real, but I'm not sitting here telling you guys that was real. I know for a fact, because you very well could be correct in having this hunch, but I think that it was real.
Well, what's real is that Rebecca's building this damn team, and she's talking to, what's his name? Thierry, asking where Marcel would take Davina. And he really just has to trust whoever he can, because he's like, well, you're right. I'm gonna tell you where he might be.
Right. Because what else? What's the point? She says, I'm gonna hold up my end of the deal, and even if she doesn't, he's not in a worse position than he is now. You know, he's like, well, I guess I'm just gonna burn here or not, and I might as well.
What can he lose? I mean, he's stuck in a wall for the foreseeable future.
Anyone who's talking to him, I feel like he should look at as a friend.
Yeah.
He probably does. He's probably like, oh my God, another human.
Yeah. I think that the actor just must be stoked, though. Like, oh, they're keeping me on the show in these little bits and pieces, because, like, probably thought that he was gone.
Residuals.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's when Rebecca goes to Marcel, and Marcel and Davina have this one-on-one about how thankful she is, and she's ready for the harvest. So then the originals, they slice their hands. They whatever the heck that was for, and then
sometimes they just do things and you have to be like, "Yep."
Ask Davina,
It's necessary.
Do you believe in the harvest? Now, here's another question: do you have to fully, honestly, truly believe in the harvest for the harvest to work? Did Davina not believe in the harvest, and that's what happened with the magic, or? You know,
no.
That's where my brain was kind of...
What happened with the magic is Celeste. Right. You know, that's what happened with the magic. It wasn't because she wasn't, you know, this is not Tinkerbell. She was not the truest believer, so she couldn't fly. I think, regardless of whether she believed or not, the harvest was going to take place. You just have to say it to get your...
but I do think she believed it, though.
By the end,
I think she did, too.
And
she saw everything going on and all these things happening, and like, wow, if this is all happening, then the harvest part of it must be true.
What was she coughing up when it was the wind time? Yeah, like just soil. Air, like
we didn't
burps,
see it. Maybe dry heaves,
hot breath, like throwing Mentos in her mouth.
Oh God, I know she throwing up dirt.
That's more like fire breath.
Well, that was like the only real part that was happening to Davina was, she was in that sweat, but she was throwing up that dirt. So that could have easily been a curse if we go along with the whole thing that Sabine was the one doing the rain and the fire.
And I think the harvest could have happened whether or not anybody believed or not, because Davina got all this power, right, transferred into her. But all of those girls freaked out the second the first girl's throat was slit. So it's not like they were all like, I believe. True. They were all just getting their necks slit open, freaking out. And that's how it got to Davina. So I don't think you have to be super into it. I think it's, for the witches, it's all about spells and what you're saying and the process. And so if they're going through the motions and doing what they're supposed to do,
it will happen.
It'll happen.
And so that's what she says. Sophie slices Davina's neck. The rain stops, and she says,
think that was a little brutal?
I watched what's it called, American Horror Story last week, so no.
No, I just mean that, like, Rebecca says to Sophie, are you going to be able to do this? I thought maybe a little hesitation, like, but not, boom.
But it's kind of like the Mama Bear thing. It's like, all I think Sophie really sees is Monique's coming back. So it's like, yeah, bitch, I'm going to slice your throat as quickly as possible because it's going to bring my niece back.
That was really a gruesome scene, though. It was hard to watch because like the camera did not move.
And
off
Marcel
her.
just holding her. And
then they cut to everybody's faces, and they all look like they're gonna cry and that they're horrified. Like even Rebecca looks like she's gonna cry, and Klaus even flinches. Which I think they rip people's heads off for fun, and they break people's necks and drain them of their blood. But watching this little girl, get her throat slit for what we don't know is gonna work, you could tell they were all feeling that.
Really felt the
they all have said like. She just so happens to be a really nice girl, so I think they're all actually developing feelings for her in one way or another. Klaus the last so to do it, but I think they are finding her endearing, charming, cute, innocent, whatever it is, seeing themselves in her, seeing a little kid in her, whatever, so I think it was really hard to watch. Did it seem to you guys like this was almost, for me, it seemed like a religious moment. It was like so monumental, and her body draped across, it looked like a painting of something like back in the, I don't know, it just was so huge. Like it was kind of everything.
It was an epic moment. I think we've all season we've kind of built up to when this moment was going to happen, and now it happened. Now it's kind of like, where do we lie with Davina? We've put so much into her for her to be like this goddess of a witch, and now when she comes, is she going to come back? When she comes back, is she going to have powers? Is she going to be as stronger than the other witches? Is she not going to have powers? Is she just going to run around with the vampires? Is she going to be a normal person? Are they going to turn her into it? My brain is just like, who is Davina now?
Right. We get one line from Rebecca saying, kill a demon today, face the devil tomorrow. And at this point, I don't even know who the demons are and who the devil's going to be, So it's like, is Davina coming back as the same person if she comes back, or is she come back as somebody who's a completely different human being, or somebody take over her body, or I don't know.
I think they're coming back. Because, like you said, we've invested so much time and emotion into her, and knowing how Marcel feels about her, we definitely haven't seen the last of her.
And I wonder, we see, all right, well, before we get into that, Klaus, he has that talk with Marcel. Marcel basically says, I don't care about the vampires, all I care about was her. We had that moment, and then we had the moment between Elijah and Hayley. Which one kind of really stood out to you guys more?
Klaus and Marcel.
Both? Do I get to say that?
I felt like Elijah and Hayley's scene was just so epic. Like,
perfect, great. Why?
I love Klaus. I love him, and I felt like that was necessary. But those words that Elijah was speaking, and just how how rare love is, and how he honors it when he comes upon it, and then like the exchange with Hayley. I just feel like every episode has led us up to that moment. Like the Klaus moment was nice because it was deserving in that episode, but the moment we got with Elijah and Hayley, we've been building to each episode. And when she was saying, you're choosing dead people over living people, and when I want something, I take it, and when I feel it, I act. I just felt like those were needed throughout every episode.
Can I ask you though? Okay. But I just some clarification. So he says, I've loved two people. Do we think that the second person he's referring to is in fact Hayley?
Yes.
The first obviously being Celeste. The second. So what you're saying is assuming that the second is Hayley.
I'm not totally sure because we don't
Elijah
know.
in love with Catherine?
Yeah, Catherine.
Remember that?
So we don't know.
Because that was the thing between Klaus, Catherine, and Elijah. It was a whole another brother game that she was playing.
I don't think he's including Hayley. I think that could be a third.
I think
but
Hayley's
he's not including
new.
her.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
right, so now you. Okay. Klaus and Marcel,
So
why?
the reason I like Klaus and Marcel better is because we have seen, like Elijah said, he's had two loves in his life. Okay, you have that opportunity to have two loves. You have the opportunity when you live forever to have thousands of loves. You have that opportunity. And like they always say, there isn't just one true love for everybody. But family, which is what Marcel and Klaus were to each other, family is, you get like one shot at family. You're born with parents and siblings and your chosen family, and you can't just pick and choose when they come and go and how they act and how they don't act. You choose to accept people, to embrace their mistakes, to forgive people. And I think that was more important because the show's called The Originals. And while we have Elijah, Rebecca, and Klaus, we forget that Marcel was a member of their family for a very long time and was treated as such. So I think that's why, for me, I liked it better, because I see family as being the most important thing, more important than who you love and who you don't love, and or who breaks your heart and who doesn't break your heart, because no matter what, they're still there.
I think that your chosen family definitely extends to who you love. So I think that Hayley could potentially be Elijah's chosen family in the way that Marcel is Klaus's chosen family. And you have a classic romance versus bromance case here. And so I can't really say which one was more meaningful, because I think that one is an incredible friendship, mentorship, family, whatever you want to call it, and the other is a budding romance that you guys know I've been plugging since day one. Like, I love these people. So I think it's too hard to compare. They both hit me at my core for different reasons. And also keeping in mind that Hayley is certainly family now that she's carrying this, whatever it is she's carrying.
And so she will, though, she'll be in their lives. And that's why I kind of find Marcel and Klaus to be a little bit more important, because this love was new. It wasn't anything for sure. It was this connection they had. But no matter what, she's carrying his nephew.
Right.
So they're going to have a relationship no matter what. So I'm not as worried about it.
I was into the bromance for the I'm not even gonna lie, I tuned out with the Elijah and Hayley situation.
Really? Even at the grab?
I just it
was too long of a wait too.
Yeah,
that's true.
I kind of like zoned out, and then I think one of you guys said, "Oh, the pause is too long," and then I snapped back into it, and I was like, "Oh God, like really?"
They're still doing this.
The bromance for me really hit me because like you said, we've been building up to this Elijah and Hayley moment. I feel like we've kind of been building up to this Klaus and Marcel moment. They've been fighting so hard, and this is something that we thought wasn't even going to happen. And I mean, it's not to say, they're hugging now, that they're not going to be enemies tomorrow. But we didn't think this was going to happen for Klaus and Marcel. We were like, well, maybe the second season they'll be cool with each other. So for me to see, it just shocked me. Klaus has kind of always shocked us, but with that moment, Klaus really shocked me because it was instant. As soon as he saw Marcel leave, he was like, oh, no. And he went, and that to me in that moment, like, I can't think of another moment that Klaus has really had where he's opened himself up to someone, especially a dude. We've seen him open up to girls, but to open up to a guy. I don't know. That was a really interesting moment for me for Klaus.
And he says, "I'm sorry," and he never says that. Right. He never apologizes for anything that goes wrong or didn't work out. He doesn't even care that he killed Timmy. He's like, whatever. It was part of what had to happen. But with this, he knows who Davina was to Marcel, and he's willing to take kind of responsibility for it.
Let me ask you guys a question about that, and it might be silly, but do you think that Klaus, it's a two-part question, is being honest when he says that he thinks he thought Marcel was dead, and if so, is that significant? So was he being honest, and is that significant?
Yes, and yes. I think it's the same exact thing that Marcel said to Davina. If I had known that Tim was going to die, I would have protected him. I don't think he was lying when he said that. I think he really would have. Just like actually, you know what? I do think Marcel was being honest, but now that I'm thinking about it, Marcel knew that Klaus was going to poison them. That's how he saved Davina. Why wouldn't he have put it in Timmy?
Maybe he just didn't think that Timmy was going to be poisoned himself. You know what I mean? Maybe he was just thinking, save Davina.
Yeah.
But
Timmy was collateral damage.
I think Klaus is 100% sincere. And I also think there's something we haven't addressed. Wasn't it like 1919 or something? That's when they thought he died. They thought Marcel died. And we heard that the town has been burned by fire twice. And supposedly, I think the last time was when we thought that he was killed, and that's when their father was chasing them, and they thought that Marcel was dead. I think we're going to learn more about that eventually, so I think it was a significant time period. There's something specific that happened.
Right, that also has to tie into somehow what Rebecca and Marcel know that Klaus doesn't know.
Right,
because it all has to do with each other. but we're in the dark right now, which I don't mind.
And on that note, let's head into predictions.
Oh, good Lord.
Right. I've been waiting all
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
All right, so I'm going to set the story up, and then we'll all kind of go through what we think. So Klaus and Rebecca are sitting and talking, and Rebecca wants to know, where did all the magic go? And Klaus wants to know, how did you find Marcel?
Right.
So Klaus is trying to figure out what's going on with Rebecca and her mutiny type situation. Do we, just yes or no, do we think that that's going to build up? Do you think that that was just kind of a throwaway line for them or a build up?
Throwaway. I think they are always going to be just the brother and sister who bicker and underestimate each other, and she's always going to think he's like the mean bad brother and she's the weak little sister. I think it means nothing.
Build up.
Yeah, build up. Build up.
Build up.
Okay.
Definitely.
So now, with that, as soon as she says that about the powers, where did the powers go? We see Sabine doing a spell. And then these 4 elder witches are brought back. And Sabine shows up and announces that she is really Celeste, and she's been Celeste for a past year.
A year?
All right.
What?
Where do you guys want to go with the story?
Who found Celeste's bones? Because, okay, it's not Celeste because it doesn't look
Sophie.
exactly like Celeste. No, but I mean, previously, somebody had to consecrate her bones to, like, bring her back or whatever. Maybe not consecrate. Somebody resurrected Celeste into who Sabine is right now. Who did that?
I would think Sabine.
Maybe
did
Sabine.
And so she had to know where she was buried. So somebody knew where she was buried far before this, or a year before this.
Yeah. And so I'm kind of feeling like Sabine, was obviously playing dumb to Sophie. Mm-hmm. But my other thing is, haven't we noticed, or am I just bugging, that witches can sense other witches' powers?
Yeah.
And especially they can sense an elder or strength and stuff like that.
But maybe not if you don't want to be sensed. Maybe that's like a thing you can censor yourself. I just am wondering, what was Celeste's end game? Like, how did she know all this was going to play out like this? Or did she not and was just like waiting around a year hoping that maybe this would work?
I wonder if she was communicating with Davina in the sense of that's why Davina started drawing her.
Well, I think Davina's powers led her to draw Celeste and to know that was the evil that was coming. But what I think it might have been she was waiting to see where it went. The harvest didn't work the way. When was the harvest a year ago?
No,
it was like
How long
3
ago?
or 6 months. One of those.
I think it was 6 months. So say 6 months prior, she knew this harvest was coming. That's when Celeste appears, or however she comes back. Then she's waiting for this harvest to happen, and somehow, maybe as the harvest happens, she could have taken their powers. And then she waited it out till Davina died because the harvest didn't happen.
Why does Celeste want this?
To bring back these people she just brought back.
But why?
No, I don't think that's the end game. I don't think bringing back these people
I think
is
the end game is she doesn't like that the vampires have taken over New Orleans, and she knows, okay, we're gonna have this harvest and have these 4 little girls who know nothing, who all they know is to be slaves to vampires. No, in my mind, this is what I think. I feel like Celeste is saying, no, we need to bring back the elders and we need to fight using the powers, because we're saying, where's Esther's powers? Where's Celeste's powers? But when you watch Davina, when she was laying there, you saw the power, orange vapor thing, whatever it was, go through her arms and into the ground. And then we didn't see where it went until Celeste/Sabine puts that black thing on the skull again, and it goes up into her arm.
Okay,
so I'm wondering if that's what it is. It's just really going to be, we're going to get just fully the witches versus the vampires the entire season.
You have to remember that Celeste was murdered. So I definitely think that revenge on her mind, I'm coming back, and whether it's revenge against the vampires or revenge against like narrowed focus, I think she's pissed.
I agree. I think she's out for revenge. I don't think it's on all of vampires because technically Marcel didn't have control over the witches until that harvest happened. He couldn't tell when they were doing magic. He couldn't really stop them from doing magic until he had Davina. And that's when he would know when people were practicing. So Sabine was around before that, or Celeste was around before that. So I think it is the sole purpose of her end goal, which I think is to get revenge on who killed her, which don't we think is Klaus?
I think that, yeah. But
we don't.
She was drowned.
She was drowned, but we don't
saw
know
her
who.
drown.
We don't know who she was drowned by, though, right?
I think that we assumed it was Klaus because of the way Elijah We're going to have to look back into that. Oh my God, you guys are going to kill us if you know the answer,
Just
please.
don't kill us. Just write it in the comments, please.
In a nice way.
Okay. Either
she
way,
was drowned because she was a witch, so I just assumed it was the people.
But wasn't
at
it
the town.
wasn't it a war against witches back in that day? Like they were.
which is why we got that beginning story.
It must not have been Klaus
Do you
because
guys-
otherwise I don't think Elijah would have forgave him. So let's.
Do you guys think we'll have the Sabine Elijah love affair now?
Good. And to add on to that, when Elijah said that to Sabine, Celeste, what do you think it was going on in her mind?
All right, no Sabine Elijah love affair. I don't think so because I think that Celeste is pissed at Elijah. I think that this is an anti-vampire thing right now. So I think that maybe she'll come back fighting for him, but she'll be fighting against people he loves, like Klaus and people like that, and he's not going to be into it because I think he's really into Hayley. I think Hayley will prevail.
I think in this sense, there have been couples that have prevailed over the hate for one another's families. We have seen, I guess going back to the Vampire Diaries, just, Damon's killed Jeremy, but now they're friends and he's dating his sister. I feel like these shows in the CW, they leave everything open. Sabine and Elijah can rekindle. We've seen enemies who hate each other become not frenemies, but allies and have worked together. So,
and interesting that you say that. To go into that, we have, as Elijah and Hayley are kind of being like, oh, no, not right now. Then we have Sabine coming in, and here we are questioning it. So I am wondering if they're going to, get
and there was something
chocolate love up in there.
There was something between Klaus and Hayley in the church, not just him showing he's a good guy, but it was like they were connecting again.
That's a good
and she was
point.
seeing him as a human as opposed to just the sperm.
Oh, I
inside
don't
of her.
find romance between Klaus and Hayley. I didn't find that. I found this is my baby mama.
Which is completely different than romance.
Obviously.
I don't know whether Rebecca's going to work with the witches and Klaus are going to work with the werewolves. I have no idea where this is going right now. But if you guys have any idea, in a nice way, leave it in the comments down below on YouTube or on iTunes. You guys can subscribe to us for free. And also keep in contact with us all week long at AfterBuzz TV on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can tweet me at DJ Jesse J.
At Cinematic Escape.
At Paige Sullivan.
At Roxy Striar.
Until next week, same time, same place. Peace.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.